Under MacDonald's, police discover a tunnel. They go pale when they discover what's at the bottom. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. The McDonald's restaurant was like a comforting sentinel in the middle of an otherwise quiet town. It has been a community hub for years, drawing in people looking for fast bites, nostalgic recollections, or just somewhere to hang out. Beneath the golden arches, friends congregated after school, families brought their kids, and elderly couples enjoyed their morning coffee. An aura of happiness and nostalgia was created by the vibrant colors and the aroma of fries. However, throughout the last few months of silence, an enigmatic curtain has fallen over this otherwise typical institution, creating shadows where there used to be laughing. The well-known parking lot took on an entirely new life as the sun sank below the horizon. Luxurious vehicles, elegant and costly, slid into the night with their headlights out of respect for onlookers. These unexpected visitors arrived in the shadow of night, enveloped in mystery. The murmurs from the community got louder, spinning stories of strange things that happened within the McDonald's at night. Shush talks revealed there was a secretive underworld beneath the golden arches, a place beyond the prying gaze of interested passers-by. Every gossip added another degree of mystery to the mystery, attracting the interest of those who ventured to wonder what was hidden beneath the facade. The locals felt a mixture of interest and apprehension. They were curious about what was going on within the well-known confines of their favorite fast food sanctuary. During the day, a few people dared to approach, glancing through the glass windows to get a peek of the peculiar customers who stopped by after dark. Their curiosity was stifled by shuttered doors and opaque windows that showed them nothing except the outside of a standard McDonald's in the daytime. There was an unsaid tension among the residents that lingered in the air, along with the smell of salty fries and cooking hamburgers. The village, which was before a refuge of harmony and friendship, now had a faint undercurrent of distrust. Their peaceful lives had taken a toll when their favorite McDonald's underwent a metamorphosis, and they were left to deal with an increasing amount of anxiety. The locals couldn't shake the feeling that their village had irrevocably altered as the days stretched into weeks and the mystery grew more complex. The golden arches, which had previously stood for happiness and simplicity, were now the entrance to the unknown. There was a great deal of uncertainty, and the inhabitants felt as though they were about to learn something that would make them both nervous and excited. Their hearts and minds had been captivated by the mystery surrounding the redesigned McDonald's, and they were desperate to find answers that were just out of reach. As the town's whispers and speculations about the mysterious McDonald's spread, law enforcement officials' curiosity, especially that of Officer John Irwin, grew more intense. Irwin had developed a sixth sense over the years from his years of experience in the industry, and the oddities surrounding this specific McDonald's were now too obvious to ignore. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and the responsibility to safeguard the neighborhood, Officer Irwin initiated a clandestine investigation to look into the eatery that had turned into a hub of mystery. His heart thumped in his chest with every stride, a sign of the seriousness of what was to come. When the sun was setting and it was becoming dark outside, Officer Irwin went into the McDonald's one evening. The once bustling business sat in eerie quiet, its seats and tables empty, its vivid colors subdued by the lack of happy customers. Suspense permeated the air, as though the walls themselves were hiding long-kept secrets. The deep darkness was broken by Irwin's flashlight, creating lengthy shadows on the tiled floor. With his senses sharpened, he went through the empty restaurant, his boots making a gentle echo. His route took him to the kitchen area, where the sound of grills sizzling and fryers humming had formerly been the fast food restaurant's beating heart. Officer Irwin's sharp eyes saw something strange there, among the appliances and gleaming steel countertops. Beneath a filthy floor tile was a little hatch that gave away the fact that everything was not quite right. His expression briefly changed from one of confusion to steely resolve upon realizing the significance of this concealed entryway. Irwin carefully and delicately pried up the hatch, exposing a dark and menacing chasm below. His flashlight's beam cut through the darkness and revealed the beginnings of a secret tunnel. The walls of the damp dirt gleamed with moisture, and the tunnel appeared to go on forever into the distance, its purpose a mystery. Irwin entered the tunnel's mouth and plunged more and deeper into the center of the enigma with each step. His footsteps echoed throughout the little hallway, a constant reminder of the dark truths that were concealed underneath the seemingly innocent MacDonald's. The weight of his mission weighed heavy on him as he made his way down the maze-like tunnel. He knew that he was about to reveal a fact that would permanently change the course of events for the town and its citizens. With just his flashlight to light him in that underground environment, Officer John Irwin's resolve was more intense than before. As a guardian of justice, he was committed to uncovering the mysteries hidden underneath the naive eatery, a mission that would need all of his bravery and determination. Now, accompanied by a group of seasoned detectives, Officer Irwin made the perilous descent into the concealed tunnel. Their world shrank to the narrow beams of light cast by their flashlights, highlighting the earthy, moist walls that seemed as though they were closing in on them. The tunnel extended ahead, twisting like a dilapidated maze shrouded in a suffocating quiet. The faint glimmer from the flashlights could not break through the gloom, creating strange dances of shadows along the uneven tunnel floor. Water droplets echoed endlessly in the underground silence, a menacing heartbeat that served as a terrifying reminder of the world above. The music bounced off the walls of the tunnel, resulting in a spooky symphony of expectation and isolation. The uneven ground under them threatened to reveal their existence, and their every step resounded with a resonance of unease. The air got thicker with each passing instant, the worry of the crew tangible in the breaths they dared not emit. Their heartbeats pounded frantically in the cramped tunnel, a testament to the deep mystery they were about to face. The voyage into the heart of darkness went uninterrupted, a relentless plummet into the depths of the earth. Their progress appeared to be mocked by every bend and twist, a constant reminder of their fragility in this dark underworld. With every stride, the tunnel appeared to go on forever, and the tension increased like a coiled spring. Their adventure finally came to an end as they emerged from the twisting maze into a room that was beyond anything they could have imagined. The experienced detectives were immediately taken aback by what they saw as their flashlight beams shone upon this terrifying scene. The room was shrouded in darkness, its mysteries only waiting to be discovered. The things inside the room were a terrifying reminder of the evil intent behind this covert building. In front of them were items and proof that were incomprehensible, proof of a dark blueprint that had been kept a secret for far too long. The detectives stole surreptitious glances at one another, the mixture of fear and incredulity reflected in their eyes. The scene slowly began to take shape as the beams of flashlights danced across the walls of the chamber. It was a sight out of a nightmare, a mysterious relic, a hoard of tools and mysterious symbols. The walls displayed the scars from innumerable hours of work, the etchings of hopeless people imprisoned in a covert project. Every little element conveyed a tale and prompted ominous suspicions about the underlying objective of the underground world. The group stood in uncomfortable quiet as each investigator tried to process the significance of what they had found. The mysterious contents of the room had unlocked a world of possibilities, but the truth they were looking for remained elusive, tasty but frustratingly out of reach. Standing on the brink of understanding, they realized that their expedition into the secret tunnel had exposed them to a long-standing evil mystery that would permanently change the trajectory of their lives. Following their terrifying discovery under the MacDonald's, the law enforcement team was caught up in a complex web of mystery and worked non-stop to put the jigsaw pieces together that had been buried for so long. As they dug deeper into the unsettling truths kept inside the covert chamber, time started to become a moving target. Their inquiry was painstaking, a systematic dissection of the mystery that had shaken their town's peace. A feeling of dread settled over them as they looked over the chamber's contents. The weapons, relics, and mysterious symbols told a story of evil intent that had festered in the underground darkness that spoke volumes. Days turned into hours, and the law enforcement squad was overwhelmed by the darkness they were trying to remove. Their expressions were filled with fatigue and shock, with the knowledge that they were walking on dangerous territory. The pit of fear that had descended upon their souls grew larger with every discovery they made. As the evidence grew, The secret chamber's evil intent, a bizarre play of deceit, manipulation, and malevolence, began to take shape. The detectives looked at each other gravely, their eyes locked on the terrifying information that was now clearly apparent. An old and evil entity that had been buried for far too long was concealed behind the familiar MacDonald's. The cops felt the weight of their duty hard as they struggled with the horrific truth of what they had discovered. There were tough choices ahead of them, all of which would have an impact on both their own life and the lives of the people they vowed to defend. Justice was a tenuous thread that linked their conduct to the security and welfare of people they served. The town's favorite fast food restaurant was left under a lengthy shadow when the horrible truths that had festered beneath it were revealed. The beloved icon of the little town was permanently altered when the once familiar golden arches were viewed as a representation of deceit and evil. Following their unwavering search for the truth, the law enforcement squad was determined to take on the darkness that had taken up residence under the surface. Their expedition into the concealed depths had permanently altered their spirits, serving as a sobering reminder of the potential for evil that might be found in the most unlikely locations. They realized that their responsibility went beyond the boundaries of their village as they struggled to deal with the fallout from their discovery. It was an oath to keep the light safe from the shadows that were threatening to engulf it. Australia is a remarkable land home to many stunning yet terrifying animals. Certain species are unique to Australia and are not found anyplace else in the world. An Australian teenage girl is the subject of this tale. Something strange was hiding in her ceiling, she realized. She prodded it when her curiosity began to grow. Perhaps she ought not to have done it. Australian youngster Zane Blaxland resides in Brisbane, Queensland. Zane was unwinding at her house one day when she heard some odd noises. These were loud scratches and screaming noises, the type of noises you don't ignore. You couldn't sleep or unwind because of how loud the noises were. The cacophony was so terrifying, it was almost as if she had landed in her own horror film. When Zane could take the cacophony no longer, he got up to see what was producing these awful noises. Stories of animals unexpectedly settling in people's homes are nothing new in Australia. Numerous accounts exist of frightening and untamed animal encounters that took place inside someone's home. These creatures are often spiders, snakes, and alligators. It's almost as if living in Australia involves occasionally having unexpected visits from wild animals. This time, the story revolves on a different animal that has enormous, clearly visible claws that resemble those from a horror film. Imagine discovering a hairy, eerie claw protruding from your ceiling as you walk up to the attic to investigate the disturbance that is keeping you from sleeping. It seems very unsettling, don't you think? It would terrify me. Not so much with Zane. She panicked, of course, and nearly had to dash to the bathroom, but she calmed down and began prodding the animal. She then understood what it may be. As expected, the creature began to protrude its snout through the opening. Living in Australia means you should always be ready to deal with the occasional visit from snakes, alligators, and spiders in your house. The nation is well known for its unexpected animal encounters, when animals break into homes without your knowledge. Before being discovered, certain animals may reside in dwellings for several days. When Zane saw that the creature was a possum, her anxiety subsided. Possums have long resided in the ceiling of her family's home. She was completely unprepared for its claw, especially given the frightening noises and the encounter, which makes perfect sense. You would also be extremely afraid if you discovered something similar protruding from your ceiling. What frightened Zane was that the possum had managed to bite a hole in the ceiling and put its claw out. She said that because it was situated directly over her bedroom, she had previously heard possums making noise. Since possums are nocturnal animals, ceilings are presumably another place they might be discovered. During the day, that appears like the ideal spot for a nocturnal creature to hang out, especially when the owners of the house start feeding you luscious banana chunks. There is perpetual darkness between the ceilings. Up there in the gloom of Zane's ceiling, it appears to be growing cozy. Making friends with the possum that was living in her roof, Zane decided to share her experience on TikTok. She began to get fond of the creature that had taken up residence in her ceiling. She even called it Pepper. She would record her attempts to become friends with the possum day by day. She would record herself giving her hairy companion banana bits, and day by day she appeared to get greater interest from viewers of her films. He would make a hole in the ceiling and the possum would poke its nose through it to smell the banana hanging in front of him. The possum began nibbling on the banana after realizing it was a tasty meal. After recording herself feeding the possum, Zane became popular on TikTok, receiving millions of views and likes. People adore seeing a happy possum. The animals are often disliked by people. They are perceived as frightening or bothersome, and they do not appear to be scared of people. Zane gets along well with the possum most of the time, but occasionally, when she approaches the ceiling, the possum hisses at her. It's wise to maintain a safe distance between yourself and a wild animal at all times since, after all, it's still a wild animal and its behavior can't always be foreseen. Zane discovered her possum companion had a large claw when she began to record it one day. Because she continued to give the possum bananas and other food, she kind of freaked out again and believed that she had produced a monster. It appeared to have expanded significantly. The possum poked its claw through the opening on this particular day, and Zane was surprised by how large it was. According to Zane, living in Australia comes with the inevitable encounters with wild creatures. You never know when animals will show up at your place. She also believes that there are many animals living in her ceiling since she hears their screams and howling during fights at night. Particularly if you're laying in bed alone at 2 a.m, those are sounds you'd prefer not to hear. It's during those times that you may have frightening ideas, and things may turn quite frightening. Fortunately, though, Zane knew what was going on over her head. She could stay cool and have a peaceful night's sleep. In the end, nobody was harmed. Thankfully, the reverse occurred, and a lovely relationship developed. On her TikTok profile, Zane updates everyone on her relationship with her new hairy companion. You may visit Zane's TikTok to see how they're both doing if you're interested. In a different tale, a family discovered what was residing in their attic and became extremely afraid for their life. At first, they believed it to be something different, something less dangerous than what it actually was. The wisest course of action, then, is to take things slow and proceed with extreme caution if you come across something enigmatic and are still unsure of what you're dealing with. In some cases, exercising caution can save your life. It's definitely better to avoid allowing an ambiguous scenario to spiral out of control, particularly if you believe you are working with animals. In Florida, USA, the Vander Herschen family resided. It's where mother, father, and son have been residing for some time. The family has spent a few years residing close to the woods. They had recently learned that there had been nocturnal activities taking on in their attic. In the attic, they began to hear strange noises and muffled voices. The family's father neglected to investigate what was causing all of the noise, so it continued for months. The mother and son deduced that the creatures in the attic had to be bees. The father gave them his word that it was not going to happen. The father, Bob, had a business that offered the service of removing bees from residences. He then placed them in a secure, natural area. He had to undergo training and learn everything there was to know about bees in order to maintain a business like that. Knowing this, he could be certain that his attic was clear of drones and queens. He didn't want to go up and inspect the attic for that reason. He claimed to his spouse that they were only mice or something like. Bob claimed he was pressed for time and was unable to climb up to the attic and remove them. His wife was afraid to go up to the attic by herself as a result. The fact that the attic was just over their son's bedroom only served to heighten his fear. The youngster heard a disturbance one night and went up to the attic, deciding to have a look. He did not see bees or mice. Rather, the child discovered an enormous snake. He felt both terrified and shocked. He informed his mother about the awful visitor he had discovered in the attic right away. The family was too terrified to stay in the house after that. Upon eventually plunging into the attic, Bob was greeted by the enormous visitor who had been residing there without paying rent. He even succeeded in filming the enormous snake. The family phoned animal control when they had recovered from their fright. Animal control was unable to approach the snake since it had moved away from the ceiling opening by the time they arrived. The animal control officer was able to get a sight of the reptile during the fruitless chase. He had enough visuals of the snake to recognize it. He revealed to the family that a sizable rattlesnake was residing in their attic. The lethal venom of rattlesnakes is well known. These beasts are extremely hazardous. The guy told the family that the snake was hidden in the attic and may attack anyone it saw, therefore it was too risky for him to catch it. The father intended to protect both his own life and the family. Aware of the lethal nature of the plant's poison, it seemed like the family would never find someone willing to assist them. Not even their courageous nephew appeared to be as fearless as before. They looked for someone who could assist them, and then they recalled seeing someone on their friend's Facebook who appeared to be the ideal candidate. His name is Mark Lampard. He frequently uploaded photos of himself holding or lying next to the most ferocious animals. His expertise and case experience might be a huge asset to the family. Mark consented to assist them. He looked in the attic for the snake for several hours. He looked about for a while before coming upon a sizable chunk of snakeskin, indicating that the snake had been residing there for some time. When he did locate the snake in the attic, he quickly grabbed its tail and hauled it out. The snake was wrongly labeled as a rattlesnake by animal control. Fortunately, it turned out to be a far less deadly rainbow boa. Thank heavens for being creatures that suffocate their prey rather than injecting them with poison. The family could now live in harmony once more. The animal in this instance proved to be an amiable snake, but what if that wasn't the case? If you discovered something living in your ceiling, how would you respond? In 1995, a perplexing finding was made by scientists close to the Japanese island of Amami-Oshima. The subtropical island is a haven for marine life, with seas rich in coral. The crew saw a strange behavior, but it doesn't seem to be natural. In fact, they nearly look to be alien in origin. There are other enormous circles hidden in the sand, and the experts have no idea what or who made them. These sculptures, which are made up of many concentric rings and are more than 6 feet across, resemble enormous sunflowers. The innermost circle has a network of flattened arteries, while the 2 outermost rings seem to be decorated with ridges resembling petals. The formations left the scientists perplexed. National Geographic later nicknamed them mystery circles. From where did they originate? What had made them? More importantly, though, why? Were they created intentionally, maybe as a warning to humans, or were they the result of a naturally occurring geological process? It's not surprised that scientists are sometimes perplexed by what they discover under the waters, considering the size of the world's oceans and our relative ignorance of them. Actually, 1.39 million square miles, or more than 70% of the planet's surface, are covered by seas. Less than 10% of their overall area has been investigated nevertheless. Because of this, sailor and landlubber alike have long conjectured about the wonders that lie below the surface of our sea's unknown depths. In fact, the array of strange and fantastical aquatic animals seen in world myths, ranging from mermaids to enormous sea monsters, is as varied as the human imagination itself. Of course, there are many who think that the waters hide far more exotic things than just unexplored wildlife, like the remnants of long-lost civilizations. The Yonaguni Monument, which was found in the middle of the 1980s close to Japan's shore, is one such alleged find. The so-called Yonaguni Monument, which has been dubbed Japan's Atlantis, is made up of what looks to be a collection of man-built structures, including pyramids, stairs, and facial sculptures. Then there are the purported extraterrestrial technology, these purported space rocks from intergalactic travel that are reported to have submerged into our oceans. For instance, in 2011, a group of researchers known as Ocean X discovered what looked to be a saucer-shaped artifact beneath the Baltic Sea. Currently referred to as the Baltic Sea anomaly, the object is around 200 feet thick and has an unidentified origin. In the meanwhile, there has always been a parallel made between the underwater circles found in Japan in 1995 and another extremely particular type of paranormal event, namely crop circles. In fields of cereal crops, these enigmatic geometric shapes frequently arise overnight. After decades of study, some paranormal investigators think that alien visitors created them. Naturally, the majority of analysts classify crop circles as a relatively recent occurrence. In fact, the first crop circle in recorded history happened in 1966, when George Pedley, an Australian farmer, reported seeing a UFO emerge from a swamp near Tully. Pedley said that the UFO had left behind a flattened circle of reeds, or a classic crop circle. Then, in rural England, Crop circles began to emerge rather regularly throughout the course of the 1970s and 1980s. After the media started reporting on the phenomena, they started to appear elsewhere in the 1990s, including in the US, Canada, Japan, and even the former Soviet Union. Approximately 10,000 crop circle reports have been made worldwide to far, and crop circles become bigger and more complex around the year 2000. Some of them really have thousands of components, such as other letters and mathematical symbols. Patterns like the one at Barbary Castle refuted the idea that crop circles are caused by lightning or other natural phenomena. Rather, the intricacy of the designs required clever people to create them. Naturally, detractors have long maintained that crop circles are in fact the product of human ingenuity, and that assertion is backed up by strong evidence. For instance, in 1991, two British practical jokers, Dave Chorley and Doug Bower, claimed to have made many crop circles in England with just a plank and a rope. Still, not everyone found them convincing. In fact, a lot of ufologists and paranormal investigators still use more creative explanations for crop circles. For example, some say these are well-designed communications from extraterrestrial visitors. Some people think the circles are linked to ley lines, which are purportedly unseen power lines that connect religious shrines and other spiritual sites all throughout the world. Dr. Horace Drew is a paranormal investigator who has studied crop circles and UFOs for more than 20 years. Drew, a doctoral chemist from the California Institute of Technology and former molecular biologist, says he saw a silver UFO hovering above his Jacksonville, Florida home as a young boy. The Australian news website news.com.au reports that Drew asserts he has deciphered sophisticated binary codes seen in crop circles. According to him, the codes hide a combination of helpful instructions and dire cautions. It appears that one of them says, "Much pain but still time. Have faith that good exists in the world." According to another, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises." In 2007, Drew said he thought aliens could be saying hello to news.com.au. One theory is that they're trying to introduce themselves to us peacefully, like we do using bubbles with dolphins, Drew stated. "We place small bubble circles with generators under the ocean to communicate with dolphins. We study the dolphins as we observe them approach, play, and explore." Drew has proposed the hypothesis that crop circles are actually geographical markers to help time travelers find their way. There are definitely humans living out there in about 5,000 years with time travel capability, he stated. The issue is that our understanding of space-time physics is insufficient to comprehend what is taking place. It is not within our purview. The analysis of hundreds of plant samples from crop circles by biophysicist Dr. William C. Levengood has also contributed to the rumors around an extraterrestrial link. Levengood said that the plants had signs of microwave or electromagnetic radiation exposure. Moreover, he asserted that plants grown from crop circles had higher yields and a higher stress tolerance than usual. Hosts of dramatic eyewitness stories anecdotally corroborate such hypotheses of extraterrestrial visitors. For instance, paranormal investigator Francine Blake claims to have photographed a UFO she claims to have observed at a crop circle site. Moreover, she asserts that a brief outburst of alien energy produces crop circles. Comparably, in 2009, a British police officer supposedly reported seeing 3 extraterrestrial beings in a newly created crop circle on Silbury Hill. Some ufologists referred to the aliens as tall whites, claiming that they resembled blonde people who were taller than 6 feet. As reported by the Daily Telegraph in the UK, the policeman said that these individuals then left the scene faster than any man he had ever seen. Naturally, the issue of whether the underwater constructions observed by divers in 1995 had any real link to the type of crop circles recorded in England since the 1960s arises since rural England is a far cry from southern Japan. What caused the mysterious circles to appear close to Amami Oshima Island? And was there, as some pundits would have you think, an alien connection? In reality, it took almost 15 years to unravel the riddle, but the creator of the mystery circles was eventually discovered in 2011. Naturally, geological processes had nothing to do with anything, and neither did aliens. Rather, the maker of the circles turned out to be a recently discovered species of pufferfish called Torquigener albomaculosus, sometimes known as the white-spotted pufferfish, mostly because it's much more convenient to pronounce. One of the almost 100 species of pufferfish that are members of the Tetraodontidae family, a close relative of porcupine fish, is Torquigener albomaculosus. On Tetraodontidae fish, on the other hand, the spines are thin and mostly hidden until the fish blows out, in contrast to the thick and easily noticeable spines on porcupine fish. The fish's capacity to blow itself up into a big, spiky ball is a protection mechanism that most likely developed to make up for its awkward swimming style. In addition, pufferfish have 4 teeth that are connected into plates to create an appendage that mimics a beak. They use this to crack open the shells of various prey, including crustaceans. More than 1,000 times more lethal than cyanide, most pufferfish species are unsafe for human eating due to the presence of tetrodotoxin in their bodies. In reality, paralysis of the diaphragm muscles is the usual outcome of tetrodotoxin poisoning in humans, and this can result in respiratory failure and death in less than 6 hours. However, it seems that certain marine animals, like sharks, are resistant to these impacts. Despite the potential for tetrodotoxin poisoning, many people continue to consume pufferfish. In Japan, the fish is really regarded as a delicacy. It's called fugu, but to cook it safely for human consumption, a competent chef's touch is needed. Each year, a few individuals in the nation pass away from consuming improperly prepared fugu. Furthermore, it seems that one of the main components of a powder that certain voodoo priests employ to make zombies is tetrodotoxin. The poison was discovered in samples of ceremonial powders that were removed from Haiti in the 1980s by ethnobotanist Wade Davis. In fact, ingestion of tetrodotoxin would result in a transient paralysis or comatose condition, resembling a state of death. The only fish species known to produce circular formations on the seafloor is Torquigener albomaculosus, while the majority of pufferfish possess tetrodotoxin. Considering the scale of their works in comparison to the fish, this is no easy task. It's possible that naturalist David Attenborough, who called the animal the greatest artist of the animal kingdom, was correct. The mysterious rings are made by the male pufferfish meticulously churning up the silt with his fins and fluttering them. By swimming straight into the formation's center and then arcing around to its outside circumference, he creates furrows on the outer rings. He keeps doing this until the formation is finished. The male fish decorates the outer ridges with fragments of shell and coral. Next, he places sand particles in the circle's center and arranges them in an arbitrary arrangement. The whole process, which takes a week or longer to finish, is done to draw in a woman. The male pufferfish enters the inner circle and stirs up the tiny sand particles when a potential female arrives. The woman looks over his work to show that she approves. She swims away to the middle of the mysterious circle, deposits her eggs, and lets the male fertilize them if she gives her approval. Although experts are unsure of what the female looks for in a nice nest, they think it could serve the purpose of shielding her eggs from currents. She could be assessing the inner circle's fine particle distribution, size, symmetry, or ornamentation. It's possible that she likes big nests because they indicate a powerful partner. In a 2013 interview with the scientific website Live Scientific, University of Texas researcher Alex Jordan hypothesized that the nest could be solely utilitarian. He said, "There's no evidence that females care about anything more than the fine sand, and even that's a stretch." He proposed that the exquisite structure and lines could have no aesthetic value other than to direct those particles toward the center. In fact, scientists think that the pufferfish's ability to construct their nests depends on a steady supply of small sand particles. The male protects the eggs for about a week until they hatch after the female deposits them. After that, he looks for a new place to nest. However, it's still unclear why he can't seem to use the previous nest. The only fish that is now known to have carved intricate mystery circles out of the sea floor is the Torquigener albomaculosus. Some fish species, nevertheless, build what are known as bowers in an attempt to draw in females. For instance, male cichlid fish from Lake Malawi in East Africa build structures like castles so that the females might lay their eggs there. Lake Malawi is home to hundreds of species of cichlids that create bowers. They build their bowers by mouthfulling and then spitting the sand into a mound. In addition, scientists from the universities of Nottingham and Hull have found that the bowers seem to serve more sophisticated social purposes than just luring women. Dr. Domino Joyce, a University of Hull scientist, claims that the fish's propensity for fighting is influenced by the design of their bower. "We spent a total of 26.5 hours underwater watching 99 cichlid fish of one particular species," she added. "We carefully changed the sand structures of some fish to find that the owners of these bowers got into fewer fights with other males. Furthermore, as per Dr. Joyce, these modifications to the bower offered unique evolutionary benefits. This is exciting because it suggests that if male fish evolved to build their castles a little bit differently from the others of the species, then these males may have an advantage as they're less likely to get attacked," she stated. "A completely new species may then evolve as a result of that advantage." Over time, if female preferences also evolve to favor the new shape of bower, then this could lead to the emergence of a new species of cichlid, all of whom build this once novel style of sandcastle, said Dr. Magalhaes of the University of Nottingham. "The waters across the planet constitute an incredibly large, uncharted territory. It's completely unneeded, despite the temptation to use fantastical explanations to explain away their riddles. In actuality, the seas and the weird organisms they contain are as foreign to mankind as anything imagined in science fiction." She heard the dish hit the table with the same ferocity as it had been flung as the door to the room opened. Her eyes welled up with tears as the door slammed behind her. She felt so unappreciated. She was 80 years old and dying of loneliness, which was becoming worse every day in her own house. Despite having a daughter, 4 grandchildren, and a great-grandson living with her, Dona Ramona was mistreated to the point that it didn't seem like her own family. That house was empty of employees. The daughter's marriage had been happy, but everything fell apart due to her volatile nature and the man's unceasing infidelity. Don Cesar and Dona Ramona looked after their daughter and their 2 grandkids. After making the decision to hunt for Job, the young lady revealed her pregnancy a few months later. The creature's parentage was unknown to the lords, but they were happy to have him. After working for a few months, she devoted her time to raising her kids. The children and the lady were irrational and insisted that Dona Ramona feed them well. Since his daughter was the center of his attention, Don Cesar refrained from getting involved in these matters. On one occasion, nevertheless, he was forced to. Dona Ramona stated, "Daughter, I will prepare steamed fish at that moment. And who informed you that the spines appeal to us? Go forth, ma'am. Please always ask before you prepare," the girl answered. "But it tastes good," the woman said. "I'm not considering it." The daughter answered, "Give me my money so I can go buy something at the restaurant. Is your mom a housekeeper? Would you want to inquire about food taste? Your mother isn't available to help, so you may start looking for anything to do." The daughter was furious and decided to give the food to the dogs instead of eating. She then tried to hunt for Job once more and met a buddy from childhood who said he would assist her. They met virtually every day as the days went by, until the woman fell pregnant once more. Her parents had to take on a new responsibility, and they did so without questioning the woman. As a result, the family that upheld the union had become rather large. The partners had retired. Before their accident on the school bus prevented them from working, the 2 were teachers. The men used their Social Security checks, which they got each month, to cover home bills and the upkeep of their daughter and grandkids. Dona Ramona's constant advice to stay on the right course caused the eldest grandchild to feel deeply rejected, but this really disturbed the child and made her feel quite resentful of the lady. The granddaughter finally became a mother and a single person at the age of 16, which added even more shock value to the residents. In a sense, Dona Ramona was the housekeeping. They had her take care of the great-grandson all day and sometimes even into the night after he was born, especially when the grandmother and mother went out to celebrate. She was now irritated that the picture had decided to remain locked in the space. The woman was cooking, cleaning the dishes, and washing everyone's clothes in the home in the while. They always cherished the youngest and even brought joy to the home during the holidays. That pair went on to have another daughter and 3 more grandkids. They always bought the cheapest items they could find at the market for the other 3 grandchildren, saving the best gifts for the ones who lived with them. The oldest daughter had avoided them because of it. The eldest grandchild was a real character. She would go days without speaking to her grandma, out of animosity. The woman was not authorized to watch television. Everyone would get up and leave her alone if she went to sit in the living room. They would disregard her comments, and if she had an opinion on her grandchildren's behavior, they would all reprimand her and urge her to quit being nosy, since no one cared what she thought. The couple's second daughter paid them a visit one Sunday after the oldest daughter left to see her friends. She discovered the granddaughter shouting at Doña Ramona that she was worthless as she was about to enter. She was too sluggish to change the baby's clothing on time, so she rested outdoors and didn't wash the dishes in the kitchen. "My varicose veins are preloaded and my feet hurt. That's the reason I came here to take a little break," the woman stated in a fragile voice. "You're simply cunning, ma'am. She acts as though her entire life should be spent sleeping. Proceed to change the child's clothing and diaper." As soon as the visiting daughter realized how her mother was being handled by her niece, she erupted in anger. Due to the awkwardness of the situation, Don Caesar stepped in and, to the astonishment of everybody, begged his daughter not to get involved, as she wasn't the one who lived with them. His daughter was very affected by the remarks, giving them the money she was carrying and other items she had purchased for them before withdrawing and letting her tears dampen her eyes. The woman simply needed to get up to change the infant and clean the stack of dishes, but the granddaughter felt victorious. She nearly collapsed and dropped the dishes in astonishment after finishing the dishwashing because of the severe pain in her leg. "Lady without use, you're not even competent for that, so figure out how to clean up there before going to get some dishes. This is the result of being lazy." "I am tired of being so useless," reluctantly, the granddaughter remarked. "I apologize, daughter. I'll be picking this up. To get new dishes, I'll head to the market." When the young woman did not respond, the mother changed the dishes and purchased meats to feed them with the money her other daughter had brought her. As the days went by, things became worse, and when Don Caesar died, things got really terrible. Donna Ramona was left as the only source of support for that institution, yet they still mistreated her terribly without even considering the fact that she was a widow. Despite the fact that things had become worse, the granddaughter remained silent. The woman welcomed her and didn't even respond, yet they spoke to her quite affectionately when she wanted to beg for money to go to a party, when she had to go get that pension money as a retired teacher and the widow of that teacher. It was the one day the daughter held her hand and looked after her. The granddaughter and the daughter did not treat her the same way that day. They enjoyed feeding her and dressing her as well. As the woman grew older and continued to cause them problems, they confined her in her room and made her stop doing the tasks. To maintain their life of luxury, they hired someone to take care of them. In her own house, Doña Ramona had a sense of alienation. Reluctantly, they fed her every day when the pain prevented her from getting up. She occasionally had to fight to go outside and check the pantry to see if there was anything inside, since they occasionally forgot to feed her. While the other 3 grandkids showed Mom a bit more attention, other times they were more patronizing. But in a few of days, she made it clear to them that she intended to vanish, since she could no longer stand to be disregarded and to be without a cent each month to purchase a piece of candy. She experienced a burning sensation in her stomach one night, as though there were hot coals within. She requested a glass of milk from her daughter over the phone. "I apologize, Mom. I'm saving milk for my kids. It's for their own benefit. However, since your body isn't absorbing the nutrients, you don't, so rest easy," the woman stated. The agony kept the woman from sleeping. Moreover, she aimlessly roamed the home prior to daylight. She passed out from the extreme agony, and when a cab driver noticed her passing out, he drove her to the closest hospital. After stabilizing her, the physician conducted a battery of tests that verified the woman's malnourishment and the source of her discomfort, gastritis. When they inquired whether she wanted her family to know, she said that since her husband had passed away, she had no one left in the world. Still, her daughter was searching for her, so they saw her picture on TV. The woman wanted to be called to her oldest daughter since she could not be persuaded by human power to go back to that residence. After that day, the lady's comfort stopped, and the youngest daughter and her kids started to feel bad for treating her badly. To pay their bills, the two ladies had to hunt for a job. That's when their indolence ended. Once they realized how inappropriate their behavior had been, they begged the woman's pardon. But she had found companionship, understanding, and care in that mansion, and she never wanted to go back. She had never experienced peace in her life till she was over 83 years old. She really regretted severing her relationship with her eldest daughter and ignoring her grandkids, who truly loved her for herself and not for what she could provide for them. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.